After an unfortunate incident at a concert, an obsessive stalker stops at nothing to marry a pop sensation, convinced that she's his girlfriend. Sofia Minor, a famous personality in the 90s, has starred in many movies, appeared on different magazine covers, and recorded numerous albums. No matter where one looks, her posters are there. While doing a puzzle one evening, the pop star's bodyguard, Belle, hears someone by the door and quickly gets up to see who's outside. When he opens it, he finds himself face to face with Paul Delusional. The man is holding a rose and wearing a suit, revealing he's proposing to Sofia. Security reminds him of what he said last time. The next time he came around, he'd call the police. A disappointed Paul then responds that he and his girlfriend will talk to him about something, so Belle stresses the two of them aren't in a relationship. Still, he remains calm and notes that Sofia is only doing puzzles with her bodyguard because she feels bad that his wife died of an illness and he has no one to play with anymore. Belle asks how he found out about the puzzles, but Paul simply changes the subject and looks for the actress. So the security orders him to leave and doesn't go back inside until he's gone. Moments later, the doorbell rings again, so Belle opens the door once more. He sees the man holding a knife to his throat, so he slowly approaches and reminds him they've been through this before, and that he doesn't know Sofia. The bodyguard also asks for the knife and shows he's unarmed, but Paul just ignores him and requests that he pretend he's Sofia. While this surprises him, Belle does as he's told and continues begging for the blade. However, the confused man takes out an imaginary ring, kneels, and proposes, urging him to put it on. Reluctantly, the pretend bride wears the invisible ring and doesn't protest when the groom kisses his hand twice. As Paul gets up, he informs the security that they'll get married and adds he's prepared a ceremonial wedding dagger. Careful not to provoke him, Belle agrees to the marriage and even tells him he loves him before asking for the knife again. Instead of doing that though, the man hugs him and stabs him. With the door left open, Paul excitedly enters Sofia's house and removes his shoes, wasting no time exploring the place. Outside, the bodyguard regains consciousness, but fails to do anything until he passes out again. 6 months later, Sofia had her people call Devonte Rhodes, a basketball player. While they're in her room, she admits she wanted to talk to him because he seemed fun, all while the guy takes a video of her. As they talk, the pop star's assistant, Kaylor, lets her know that Belle is there. So, she throws Rhodes's pants at him and quickly gets dressed before opening the door and greeting her guest. After introducing the athlete, Sofia shows her security personnel the puzzle she's worked on for 6 months. Rhodes then points out that a piece is missing, but Sofia says she couldn't find it. When Belle gets home, he immediately goes to the rooftop, where his daughter Abby is waiting. He apologizes for being late and bribes her with a bottle of soda, learning she's afraid he'll get hurt again once he returns to work. The girl hates the idea of her father being a bodyguard, because it's as if his life is less important than his employer. That aside, she tells her dad she received another mysterious call. Realizing who the caller is, Belle instructs Abby to hang up next time and to phone him. For his daughter, though, the person just seemed confused. Elsewhere, Paul's friend, J.H., reads his letter and picks up his parcel from the post office. Then, he follows the instructions in the letter to prepare for the wedding, ensuring he has everything he needs and remembers their plan. In the evening, Sofia and her new lover go to a small club for some fun. Meanwhile, Belle watches the news report about 2 people who escaped from Concord Park Institution in Fresno. The patients are Paul Delusional and Penelope Pascal, who are considered extremely dangerous after leaving 2 dead and 1 injured. After receiving a call, Belle takes Abby to her Aunt Eleanor's place and promises he won't be long. Around the same time, the escaped patient meets with his friend and is happy that he got his stuff, but more importantly, that he finally has his parcel. Suddenly, Penelope gets into J.H.'s truck, prompting Paul to introduce her as his assistant. He says that she helps him and his girlfriend with their schedules as they're both busy. After a few moments, Sofia arrives home with Rhodes and finds her bodyguard with Officer Parker. The cop suggests they go inside when the woman asks what happened, so Belle reveals that her stalker escaped from Concord Park 2 hours ago. Back in the truck, Paul tells Penelope how J.H. lost his eye. They then drop her off at Pastor Lutzner's house, where she knocks on the door and talks to him, pretending she needs help with her car. In his office, Bell lets Rhodes borrow some clothes as he notices what he's wearing. In addition, he tells the curious guy that the man once left him with a ruptured spleen before calling the cops on himself. At home, Eleanor hears a noise outside and sees a man, J.H. So, she immediately calls her brother, who instructs her to contact the police. With no time to waste, the bodyguard takes his gun and leaves, telling Rhodes to lock the door. While Sofia's security guard, Waylon, watches the CCTV, her boyfriend explores the house and finds a letter in her office. Upon reading it, he discovers he's one of the men the pop star approached, who could be her potential co-star in her next project. Sofia then sees him and says it's okay for him to go. But Rhodes, who's clearly disappointed, informs her that Bell left. Eventually, a cop named Officer Carter arrives at Eleanor's house. When Abby's aunt explains there's a strange man outside, Carter doesn't see the need to be alarmed, irritating Eleanor. Since everything seems to be okay at the moment, the police tells Eleanor he can leave or stay inside and keep them safe as long as they give him coffee. However, Eleanor thinks it's better if he protects them from the outside. Concurrently, Sofia decides to do a puzzle with Rhodes, but she's surprised when he gets emotional and compares himself to the game. He believes the woman built him up and made him feel nice, but now she's finished with him, like a completed puzzle. Outside, Waylon is busy eating when he notices a trunk on the CCTV. He then looks around to see who left it there, and suddenly, the power goes out. Sofia is annoyed by the electrical outage since this problem was supposed to be fixed weeks ago. Rhodes asks where her circuit breaker is, though she doesn't know because she has many houses. The man thinks she's arrogant and doesn't like the way she talks about her wealth. But instead of arguing with her, he simply takes the candles on the table, hoping to find the safety switch. It isn't long before the two start arguing after Sofia comments on her boyfriend's personality. This pisses the guy off because he can't believe he's included on the list on her desk. As she mocks Rhodes for getting his feelings hurt, Penelope shows up and knocks Waylon down while he's looking for a way to get the power back on. And as if that isn't enough, she enthusiastically tases him until he throws up. The security man manages to stab the perpetrator with his fork, quickly shoving and punching her to make sure she can't retaliate. Unfortunately, the escaped patient drops a microwave on him and uses it to bash his head in. At this point, Sofia kicks Rhodes out of her house and accidentally hurts herself when she breaks a chair while trying to lock the door. Despite the injury, she proceeds to do the same with the remaining doors of her house. Everything looks okay at first, but when she hears a sound, she starts feeling nervous. So, she lights a candle to investigate, and the first thing she notices is that her puzzle is now complete. Sofia is clueless about how that happened and has no idea that someone is behind her. She then turns off the stove as the water boils in the kettle, accidentally bumping into an open drawer that causes her candle to go out. Unfortunately, the woman remains oblivious to her surroundings. Meanwhile, Rhodes can't open the gate due to the power outage and decides to look for the circuit breaker. As he gets the power back on, Paul greets and hugs Sofia from behind. The pop star can only stand there as her stalker expresses how much he's missed her, allowing him to apologize for leaving her. Once she comes back to her senses, she moves away from him. When Paul approaches, she hits him in the head with the closest thing she can grab, then throws fruits and a toaster in his direction. Thanks to the commotion, Rhodes realizes something is wrong. He runs and reaches the door at the same time as Sofia, but she can't reach the lock. Sadly, the obsessive man catches up to the actress and bangs her head on the door. While Eleanor watches Carter from the window, Abby shares that according to MTV News, Paul Duerson's girlfriend collapsed and died during Sofia's concert. Belle then arrives and orders the two to get dressed, telling them there's nobody outside when they mention the police. As it turns out, the officer was strangled to death by J.H. using his bicycle's chain about a minute ago. The man dragged his body away, and that was when he pulled up outside the house. Back to the present, Belle instructs Eleanor and Abby to get in his car and lock the doors. After that, he walks around to look for anything unusual, though he fails to see Carter's body at the back of the truck. He eventually returns to his own vehicle, where J.H., who's now sitting in the back with Abby, demands to have his gun, so he throws it away. The perpetrator also asks Belle to take them to Sofia's place. Meanwhile, Paul takes the pop star to the bathroom and treats her wound. Then, he finds Penelope waiting for him at the front door, along with the trunk that JH brought. Once Sofia regains consciousness, she removes the bandage on her forehead and finds she's in the recording room with her stalker. The guy says he's now ready to be hers forever, so she stresses he's just confused and sympathizes with him for what happened to his girlfriend at her concert. That said, the singer wants Paul to understand that his actions are wrong. Thinking Sofia is mad that they're getting married at the Cassowary Tabernacle, he states the place is important to him. He also gives her a pack of frozen peas for her head as he talks about their wedding, making the actress realize she needs to play along to escape. And so she jokes that she'll show him around the house, but the man says she doesn't have to because he's been there many times. In the car, JH gets annoyed because Belle is asking him to let Abby and Eleanor go. As a result, he orders the woman to pull over and leads the bodyguard to a dark area to shoot him. He then returns to the car and continues heading to Sofia's house. There, Paul introduces his assistant to the famous personality before changing into a suit and checking his ceremonial dagger. Shortly after, he greets JH and the others as they arrive and asks them to follow him. Concurrently, Penelope shows Sofia her wedding dress, stating she has no problem helping with the marriage, even though she's aware that the couple isn't really in love. After receiving her gown, the bride asks for her makeup in the bathroom. The escaped prisoner then closes the vocal booth and playfully slaps Sofia's hand when she tries to push the door open. As she leaves, the pop star manages to open it, thanks to the bandage she secretly placed on the latch bolt seconds ago. Next, she takes an electric guitar and waits behind the door. She knocks out the first person who enters the room, but unfortunately, it's none other than Rhodes. In another room, Paul reveals that he kept calling Abby because he wanted her to be their flower girl. When the girl hears a sound coming from the trunk, he shows the bleeding pastor, who he knocked outside his house earlier. Upon waking up, Rhodes apologizes to Sofia for leaving her and notes how crazy their situation is. To make things worse, Penelope returns and comes at his girlfriend with a bat, so he pushes her aside and gets whacked instead. Now engaged in a fight, she kicks her attacker, causing her to hit the piano. Penelope humorously tests the musical instrument, prompting Sofia to sing with her. Suddenly, she hits the actress in the face with a tambourine for being out of tune, then grabs her as she jumps through the glass door and pushes her down the stairs. As she crawls away, Penelope follows and restrains her, then pours lighter fluid all over her, intending to set her on fire. Thankfully, Sofia is able to grab the meat thermometer, which she uses to stab her. She then pours lighter fluid on the escaped patient, but doesn't set her on fire, and instead returns inside to help Rhodes sit on a chair. Wasting no time, she tries calling 911, only to be attacked from behind. Again, Penelope gets the upper hand by pinning her against the wall. The pop star desperately pushes the thermometer deeper into the woman's flesh before locking her inside the vocal booth, where she puts a burning piece of paper to set her on fire. A horrified Sofia later uses a fire extinguisher to put out the flames through the small window. Meanwhile, her boyfriend wakes up and tells her that he saw a little girl inside the house earlier, so she quickly changes clothes and leaves. Paul arrives and instead finds Rhodes, then begins talking to him as if he's the bride. He eventually sees Penelope's body, but he just ignores it and shows the man the ceremonial dagger that's supposed to protect them from anyone who wants to destroy their happiness. At that moment, Sofia finds Abby and the others, much to JH's surprise. She asks him where Belle is, unaware that he only grazed his head when he shot him. Due to having only one eye, he couldn't check properly if the man was still alive before he left. In the present, Kaylor finds the pop star's bodyguard and lets him borrow her car. Without hesitation, he drives to his employer's house and sees a wedding invitation inside, prompting him to leave immediately. As Sofia waits for the groom at the altar in the Cassowary Tabernacle, Belle hurriedly drives there and calls for backup. Then, when Paul shows up, he tells the woman to sit down and Abby to start walking down the aisle while throwing imaginary flowers. It isn't long before Rhodes arrives, followed by his girlfriend's security guy. He doesn't ask why the athlete is wearing the wedding dress and simply walks him down the aisle, instructing him not to upset the crazy man because he tends to get violent. As the two reach the altar, Paul thanks the bodyguard and promises to treat his bride right. Belle then asks him if he could greet the guests and secretly gives Sofia a knife. At last, the ceremony starts, and the moment Paul's been waiting for is finally here. JH stresses that the person he's marrying is a man and points at the real Sofia. Rhodes quickly gets the groom's attention and even calls him baby, asking him not to listen to his friend. The actress stops the ceremony and acknowledges that it's her fault they're all there, which means she should be the bride. Despite her objection, the escaped patient tells her again to sit down. Eventually, Pastor Lutzner pronounces the couple husband and wife. With a smile on his face, Paul kisses the athlete, thinking he's finally married the woman of his dreams. But then, he suddenly stabs Rhodes with the ceremonial dagger, causing him to lose consciousness. Belle proceeds to punch the stalker before knocking JH down. Sofia quickly cuts the rope binding her wrists and takes the knife from the groom, telling him it's over and kicking him in the face. Her bodyguard then takes the knife from her and asks if she's okay, only to face another problem. JH grabs Abby and threatens to shoot her unless he drops the weapon. With no other choice, Belle puts it down and kicks it toward the perpetrator, who's frustrated because weddings are supposed to be fun. Before he can shoot Abby, Rhodes gets up and ends his life with the ceremonial wedding dagger. Moments later, Paul comes out of the cassowary tabernacle with Sofia and celebrates with everyone. He happily gets in the limousine with his bride, but in reality, he's inside a police car. EMTs tend to those who need treatment while the cops start their investigation and take the patient to the police station. After everything that happened, Belle gets ready to go home with his daughter and tells her he can no longer work as a bodyguard because it's too dangerous. Around the same time, Paul enjoys the ride to the police station, thinking he's inside a limousine and wanting to go to Maui the next day.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.